All right, so please welcome to the stage the first team, number 1, just randomly selected. The team is called Nibble from Tacoma, Washington. This is a UW-Tacoma alum and UW-Tacoma team. Welcome, Nibble.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. Yeah? Okay. Perfect. You guys can see. I want to start out, I don't want to jump into it yet. I want to kind of reiterate what everyone's saying here, which is, I'm an alum, I'm not a veteran. I've always loved entrepreneurship. It's been in my blood my whole life. But coming to UW and finding Tom and the vibe has definitely changed my life infinitely. Has moved me from, going and getting, a classic job, from, going from that kind of path to jumping into entrepreneurship, joining startups, starting my own businesses, failing at my own businesses, succeeding at my own businesses, and a lot more. So I just wanted to really, thank you, Tom, forever. With that, okay. So I am Avery Nimes, and I am the founder and creator of Nibble. So I love starting this out by doing a quick question. How many of these have you heard of? These are all happening right now in 2023. So the first one, and I love seeing it, so a raise of hands. If you've seen, Starbucks, in grocery store, their bottles are recalled, 300,000 of them, because they found glass in their bottles. Perfect. And then ConAgra recalling approximately 2.5 million pounds of their meat. Nothing. In 2023, so in the past effectively month and a half, we've had about 40 recalls on food. And then the last one, which I'm hoping some of you guys have heard, which is the study finding metal in baby foods. So this is not in 2023, so it's kind of a trick question, but that was found in 2019, right? And just now it's coming back into the courts, and what we're finding, and no one knows because there's no kind of follow-ups unless you're actually exploring this, is that the FDA only focused on one specific metal to take out of foods. So there's still 3 or 4 different toxic foods or metals that are going into baby food, just not lead, right? That's the key focus. So wanted to start out with that. And this is an old problem, but it's not a new one. This is an old problem, but it is also a growing problem, right? So 300 plus annual recalls happening, and that's growing. And then the number of related class action lawsuits are growing, not exponentially, but from 2019 to 2021, it's almost 100%, from around 180 to 325 different lawsuits happening. So where do we come in? Nightly Nibble is a free newsletter focused on educating our readers on food recalls, food lawsuits, food news in general, really trying to provide that missing link between the current information where you're getting it on the news, you're getting it on your TikTok feeds, and providing that kind of consistent flow of information, giving you those updates, giving you those kind of timely, relevant things so you can check your pantries, check what you're gonna be purchasing, and then doing it in a really easy to digest way, right? Making it not this, FDA page where you have to scan through 100 links, let me do that for you. So kind of jumping on that, ideal, ICP, ideal client profile, we're really looking for people that are health conscious, that are focused on what they're eating, wanting to take control of their own kind of environment, what their habits are, and really just kind of looking to stay up to date, right? From more than just the classic news cycle. So a lot of people ask me, why a newsletter? Is that even a business? Yes, it is. So a newsletter is effective. It's quantifiable. Everything is measurable. It's scalable, and it's way better than any social media that you can find. And the main reason why is when you post on a social media account, you're going to get anywhere from 1 to 10% of your followers looking at that, right? When you send out a newsletter, you're going to get anywhere from 60 to 90% of your subscribers actually reading your content. So, and this is extremely helpful, and what you can see here is it basically, as your subscriber count grows, your revenue grows, but the effort that you put into each newsletter stays the same, right? So the work and the effort stays the same as your revenue grows, and that gives you the ability to focus on more things and expand your business. So how do we make money? So we sell ad stories and affiliate marketing. So an ad story is effectively providing companies space, ad space within our newsletters and building stories around their products and services. And affiliate marketing is kind of similar, but instead of selling that ad, we are providing a discount code, and we earn revenue from that revenue generated. So future, after about 20,000 subscribers, we're going to stop reaching out to products, and we're going to go directly to law offices and pitch this as a way to provide additional resources for their class action lawsuits. Financials. So here you could see kind of the breakdown of subscriber growth, total subscribers, how that relates to revenue, operating expenses, and then the meat, the money, net income. So really what you could see here is going from, well, I'll just kind of provide the relationship between the two. So right now, newsletters are running, ads are running about $50 to $60 per 1,000 views, right? And so on average, we'll be having about 3 ads per newsletter and about 8 newsletters, so twice a week newsletters. So what that kind of equates to when we're selling our packages of ads is about $400 a month for May. So $400 a month for an individual to put their advertising on our newsletter in the month of May. And that scales, as you can see on there. And from that, the team, AKA me. It's me. My background, I ran social media marketing, web development agencies, content creation, influencer management, and really that experience paired with my current startup experience has put me in a really, really good spot to launch this and to the next level. And I've done this before, so I have previous experience running a newsletter and have brought that to a really good number. The ask. So I'm looking for $15,000 in cash and $15,000 in in-kind services. This money will push Nightly Nibble to about 5 months ahead of schedule. So that breakdown of financials, projected financials, that's going to move me from basically from a organic to a fully paid aspect where I can start spending $1,000, $1,500 a month to engage. And that is it. And I have 15 seconds to go. So I'm loving that. Thank you. Should I unplug this?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know, just do it. Just.
Do I stay up here for questions?
Yeah. Any questions?
Hey, Avery. Can you hear me? Hey, so can you walk through again, how do you acquire subscribers? What's the cost and the process to acquire?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways. So there's paid and then there's organic. Oh, yeah, thank you. So there's 2 ways. There's paid and then there's organic. Right now, and really until May, we're going to be doing only organic. And what that looks like is me reaching out on like platforms like Reddit, TikTok, creating content, sharing those, gaining subscribers from effectively the viral content. And then from there, and this is where the money gets really nice, is that going into paid moves you up exponentially, right? Because then you get to basically go to influencers and say, hey, we're going to partner with you. Every subscriber you provide, you get X dollars up to, $500 or X, up to X amount, right? And so that really kind of incentivizes them to provide this. And I've done this before on a completely separate thing. We completely organically moved it up from 0 to 30,000 subscribers, and still running that. But this is a separate venture that I'm looking to kind of duplicate that framework on.
Hi, Avery. How do you know that your subscribers going to go from organic to paid?
Yeah, so so the subscribers will always it's less on it's less on the actual subscriber and more on the way that we acquire the subscriber, right? So the subscriber will always be free. The way that I go and get them to subscribe, it will either be from me posting content and not paying for that content, or I'll be paying influencers to then get their team, their group, and their followers to subscribe. So it's always going to be a free newsletter for anyone that we work with, except for those who are purchasing ads. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it kind of answers that part of the question. I have another question, if you don't mind. How do you plan to get companies or organizations to do business with you, to pay you to promote their business?
Yeah, so I love it. That is kind of what I do. So that's really, I'm sales. So I'll be reaching out, basically providing a bunch of data on here's how many followers we have, here's our read rate, here's how many people are looking at us, here's the demographic of the kinds of people that are reading us, and then from there, it can range from really healthy food brands that are basically saying stop buying these big guys, spend a couple dollars extra, but use us, right? And basically kind of building stories with them from a marketing aspect, building that brand story, and then implementing it into our newsletters. So it's less of an ad and more of an additional experience for our readers.
One last question. I'm a business, and I want to promote my business to a wider audience. I'm in the food business. Sell me your pitch right now.
Yeah, so the first thing I would say, because the pitch is always going to have to do with the customer. So the first thing is, what's your business, right? So I would say, what's your business? And you would say, well, we're a national food truck delivery food provider, right? And so I would say, okay, well, we're going to build a story and it can be from the kinds of food you're providing to the up and coming of the back end of your story, and we're going to essentially provide a ad spot on our newsletter that our thousands of subscribers can read and get additional access, and then we create a CTA, so call to action, where you would say, you know what, I want all these people to go to our website. I want all these people to follow us. I want all these people to purchase this new product that I'm launching, and from there, we would put that in the end of in the story for those to read, and we would essentially provide this kind of organic flow of customers straight to you, right? And it's not as it doesn't read like an ad like you would pay for on Facebook or Instagram, things like that.
Hey, Rick. It's me again. Hey, just so you're taking available information provided by the government that nobody reads.
Yep.
You're grabbing that and you're putting it in a readable format. How do you protect yourself from someone else doing the same thing?
Yeah, it's brand, right? That question is like basically any newsletter, any kind of content, unless you're using your own expertise to kind of build it. But then it's really hard to scale and kind of grow. But the biggest thing is brand, right? It's really hard to, if and when we grow to that 20,000, 50,000, I hope we get competitors, right? I hope we get more people talking to us and getting people to subscribe, because it just kind of continues to prove that this is a value. The real question is you can't, right? Like anybody technically could do this, right? It's just from the brand, the story that we're providing, and then the easeability, and also just the marketing. So like the 15,000 that we're asking for, that plays a big part. If somebody sees this and is like, dude, I want to do that, right? And they have $30,000 in their bank account that they can throw into this, like they could own me, you know? So.
Do you envision having people have articles in there about better products to buy in the marketplace that aren't full of the nasty stuff?
Totally. Yeah, and that's where like the affiliate marketing will come in, where it's like, hey, here's what's being recalled, or here's what's currently on the shelves that contain metal, but here is, you know, a few other things that you could do or purchase that is guaranteed to be safe, or, you know, has gone through those tests that show that there are no metals in this baby food or different things like that.
I have a question about your expenses. What is it that you factored into the operating expenses?
Yeah, so the first January is a setup cost, so that's website, different kind of like annual subscriptions. February to April is just going to be mainly subscription, like Photoshop, different kind of month-to-month subscriptions, right?
Like software subscription?
Exactly. So software subscriptions. And then when we get into May, that's when we start paying. So that's when we start going into like advertising for influencers and things like that. And that's why it jumps from $250 to $500, and then $500 to $750 as we basically utilize the revenue that we generate into paying for more ads.
Okay. I have another question. You mentioned something, so you said the advertisers would be food companies of some sort.
Yeah.
But then you switched it later on, it would be attorneys? Can you address that a little?
So at the moment, so right now, really up to 20,000, 30,000 subscribers, like if we're below that, an attorney's not really gonna care, because we're not gonna have the kind of specific people they're looking for, right? So attaching us to like food organizations, kind of going on to what David was saying about like the affiliate marketing aspect of you know, referring different foods based on food recalls. But that, it's scalable, but it's not really new, right? Like we want to be a newsletter that works hand in hand with lawyers that are doing those class action lawsuits, that we can essentially say, here's 30,000 people that one, care about what they ingest, two, have a pretty high chance of purchasing some of these products, and then three, we would essentially get paid similar to like an affiliate marketing per lead that we provide them. And then in addition to that, a lot of class action lawsuits actually provide refunds. So we'll actually be able to essentially be in part providing monetary gain or monetary reimbursement for our subscribers. And that just doesn't make sense to do that with like 2,000 subscribers for the lawyers.
Hello, Avery. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm loving this. I wish I could do this every day. This is awesome.
Okay, well, let's just jump right into it then.
Let's do it.
I don't get the connection with the name.
Yeah. So Nightly Nibble, it's really, if I was to say food recalls, right, or food lawsuits, or you know something along those lines, I wouldn't read that. like honestly, I would not read that. And I think the goal with kind of Nightly Nibble, the brand as a whole, like you see the kind of neon colors, the lights, it's really focused on making this not a depressing newsletter, right? Like we want you to read this and get educated, but it's not going to be, it's not a doctor's office, right? You're not walking into a doctor's office. You're walking into a late night cafe or a late night bar where it's, you have the neon lights, right, that are showing that. And that's in addition to that, most newsletters are sent in the morning, right? They're sent at like 10 a.m., 9 a.m., and every morning you get just an unlimited list of them. We're flipping that. We're actually going to be sending these at night. So we're sending it at 6 p.m., 5, 6, 7 p.m. We're still testing on like what, are the kind of the best open rates there. But that's for two reasons. One, the level of shopping at night online is actually growing, like 20% year over year. So that's one. And then two, most people don't read anything like substantial at night because there's nothing being sent to them, right? And so we're wanting to essentially take that and put it in as a kind of experiment.
Okay. You kind of lost me there, but I'm still, you know, I'm still kind of focusing on that because, you know, if I were to Google the name, I mean, or the source that I'm looking
Yep.
at, how many, you know, will nightly bites pop up versus toxic bites or something that's a little bit more dramatic to the subject that you're attempting to convey to the public?
There's kind of two things, right? Like if we go into toxic bites, right, or you know, something more along the lines of like recalls and things like that, it quickly shifts the kind of way that people are thinking about this, right? The goal here is to essentially not, I'm basically trying to show this brand as not something that you're like, okay, I get to read this again, right? And I want it to be something that's kind of a fun, engaging, and I think Nightly Nibble is that, right? It provides that kind of a fun atmosphere while also providing serious information, right? And where if we're to focus on, because, so like Nightly Nibble, I'm not just going to be, you know, here's the business answer, right, is if I was to do toxic nibble or something along those lines, there's no way I would sell an ad to any food company in my life, right? Because no one's gonna wanna put their name on a newsletter that says toxic nibble, right? If we say Nightly Nibble and it's focused on, you know, providing and educating and then looping in, hey, here are some other things that you could do in replace of this, that I think feels a lot better for at least a lot of the food companies that would be using us to advertise.
How you doing, Avery?
Good.
Okay.
How are you?
I have a couple of questions. So listening to your pitch and reading through your business plan, I heard and I read some things that conflict with each other. You first stated that the issues with posting online and social media, and from the looks of it, you don't really explain whether this will be a physical newsletter or one sent out via email, or if it will be a social media thing. If you can explain that. And also, you mentioned under your market analysis about approaching this as an influencer list model.
Yep.
But then in your marketing and sales, you mentioned you wanted to collaborate with food and alcohol influencers.
Yes.
If you can explain, you know, how you're going to distribute this newsletter, and then explain like how that
what that even
influencer
means.
list,
Totally.
partnering with
100%.
influencers,
Yes.
would look like.
Yes. So first, completely email. So it's not a physical. We're going to be email only. You know, eventually we'll probably get into, you know, podcast and additional kind of like long form video content around, you know, education. To answer that, influencer lists. So if I don't know if you have a TikTok or Instagram, what you see on those is you're gonna get somebody coming in and they're gonna say, hey, we have all of these things, right? And that's what the partnership would be, right? But when you get to Nightly Nibble, there is no person behind that, right? There is no, hey, you know, David's sick today, so he, you know, like I'm gonna be talking about getting sick, right? Like, no, it's not, you know, it's its own brand. It's not affiliated with any influencer other than paying influencers to essentially, you know, advertise for us.
Okay. And one more quick question. If it's not a physical newsletter that you're sending out, why does your can you explain why your operating expenses increase over time?
Yes.
As your number of subscribers?
Yeah, so it's ad spend. So it's 100% ad spend. We're basically taking the money and revenue that we're getting and moving that into our ad spend.
Can you explain ad spend?
Yeah, so sorry. So essentially what we're doing is we're saying we're going to be, partnering with influencers. We're going to be paying for Facebook advertisements. We're going to be going into, different communities and paying those communities for allowing us to publish, right? And all of those things take, money, right? And so basically, as we grow, we're going to be focusing more and more and more money into that to essentially, build that growth engine. Yeah, does that answer?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.